On April 30th, 1900, a railroad engineer named John Luther Jones saw disaster ahead. His passenger train was barreling toward a stalled freight train near Vaughan, Mississippi, and there wasn't enough track to stop. Jones told his firemen to jump, stayed at the controls, and slowed the locomotive just enough to save every passenger. He was the only one who died that night. Within weeks, he became a folk hero, the brave engineer who gave his life for others. 69 years later, the Grateful Dead turned that story into one of their catchiest songs. Except their Casey Jones wasn't a sober hero. He was high on cocaine, speeding toward his own destruction. And a song meant as a warning became the anthem that made an entire generation reach for their vials. The real Casey Jones entered American folklore through work songs and ballads passed between railroad men. By the early 1900s, dozens of versions existed, each celebrating his sacrifice. They were living pieces of oral tradition, sung by people who understood what Jones had done. Robert Hunter grew up immersed in that tradition. He studied American folklore, loved old work songs, and understood how folk music carried warnings disguised as stories. In late 1968, Hunter was living with Jerry Garcia in Larkspur, California. Garcia practiced guitar downstairs, while Hunter wrote continuously upstairs, filling notebooks with fragments. One day, Hunter scribbled a line that fused two American traditions. Driving that train high on cocaine, Casey Jones, you better watch your speed.
Driving that train high on cocaine, Casey Jones, you better watch your speed. Trouble ahead.
He'd merged the Casey Jones ballad with cocaine songs, two separate folk genres. As Hunter later said, they thought it would be fun to combine these traditional ideas into one song. But here's what most people miss. By replacing the sober hero with a drug user speeding toward disaster, Hunter wasn't celebrating anything. He was writing a warning for a new generation. Hunter wrote the line in a notebook and moved on. Weeks later, he realized it would make a perfect hook. When he showed Garcia the completed lyrics, something remarkable happened. Garcia later told Rolling Stone the words were so exquisite that he just sat down, picked up a guitar, and the song came out in one sitting. The entire melody happened in minutes. Garcia built it around a catchy two-chord groove that felt familiar and fresh, but the tone was deliberate. Garcia called it a musical picture of what cocaine is like, a little bit evil and hard-edged with that sing-songy thing. The upbeat melody made the dark lyrics hit harder. Trouble ahead, trouble behind. And you know, that notion just crossed my mind. This wasn't celebration. It was danger wrapped in a groove. The Grateful Dead first played it June 20th, 1969 at the Fillmore East. Early versions featured long jam intros that stretched for minutes before vocals. The band was still in full psychedelic mode, treating every song as a vehicle for endless improvisation. But by early 1970, they were exhausted. Endless jams and chaotic shows were wearing them down. In February 1970, they entered Pacific High Recording to make Workingman's Dead. The sessions emphasized Americana songcraft over psychedelic excess. 8 concise songs with 3-part harmonies and tight structures. For Casey Jones, that meant dropping the jam intro entirely. The studio version launched straight into the groove, tight, punchy, radio ready. It hit like a freight train. When Workingman's Dead dropped in June 1970, radio stations started spinning Casey Jones. Then, some physically scratched the track off the album. David Gans, a Deadhead DJ, recalled seeing copies with scratches across Casey Jones so it couldn't be played. Station managers heard "high on cocaine" and assumed the band was promoting drugs. They completely missed the point. But here's the deeper irony. Deadheads made the exact same mistake. In a 2003 forum discussion, one fan pointed out that lines like, "better watch your speed" and "you'd be better off dead" don't make cocaine sound fun. But then admitted that during live shows, Deadheads still celebrated and reached for their vials. The warning had become a party anthem. Another fan recalled telling a reporter in the 80s that Casey Jones warned against drugs. The reporter ignored it completely. The media had decided the Grateful Dead were a drug band, and no evidence would change that. Through the early 70s, the band kept refining it. Faster, harder, tighter. By 1974, it was a 3-minute punch of pure energy. Then, in the mid-80s, they just stopped playing it. After 1984, maybe once a year, sometimes not at all. Were they uncomfortable with how audiences embraced a warning as a celebration? Or just tired of being called a drug band? For 30 years, Casey Jones vanished. Garcia died August 9, 1995 at 53. The Grateful Dead disbanded. But in June 2015, surviving members reunited for Fare Thee Well concerts celebrating their 50th anniversary. June 27th at Levi's Stadium, they brought Casey Jones back. 46 years after its debut, the song returned. The audience sang every word, still missing that it was supposed to be a warning. And here's where it gets fascinating. In May 2025, Bob Weir told The Guardian something shocking. He said after a year of LSD, it wasn't bringing clarity, so he stepped away. Drugs didn't have much to do with their development. The band, celebrated for acid-fueled jams, was quietly writing warnings about drugs. And the members, supposedly living for psychedelic exploration, were stepping away from it. A sober folk hero became a cocaine cautionary figure. A warning became an anthem. And a band spent 50 years trying to tell people that wasn't the point. The original Casey Jones saved lives by refusing to jump. Hunter's Casey Jones speeds toward disaster because he can't stop. One celebrates heroic sacrifice, the other warns against reckless destruction. Both became legends. Both were completely misunderstood. The ballads turned a train engineer into a symbol of duty. The Grateful Dead turned that symbol into a mirror. #meta sex 0.05, showing their generation what happens when you lose control. Trouble ahead, trouble behind. The warning was always there, hidden in plain sight, buried under a groove so catchy you could sing along and miss the entire point. Casey Jones, you better watch your speed. Nobody was listening, but the song kept playing anyway.